There's a moment in every life where the ground beneath your feet shifts, where everything you thought you knew about yourself dissolves like morning mist. For me, it happened in a small hut in India, sitting before a man who saw straight through the Harvard professor, the psychologist, the identity I'd spent decades building. He looked at me with eyes that held the universe and said, "You came here to find God, didn't you?" In that instant, Richard Alpert died and Ram Dass was born. But this isn't just my story. It's yours too. We're all carrying masks, playing roles, desperately seeking something we can't quite name. We're all homesick for a place we've never been, aching for a love that has no conditions, searching for a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. The journey home to your true self begins with a single, radical act, learning to be here now. The mask begins forming almost from the moment we take our first breath. Layer by layer, we construct this elaborate identity. The good student, the successful professional, the perfect parent, the spiritual seeker. Each role becomes another thread in the web of who we think we are. We polish these personas until they shine, presenting them to the world like trophies, desperately hoping someone will validate our existence. I spent years perfecting my mask as a Harvard psychologist. I had the credentials, the respect, the academic recognition. I was somebody important, somebody who mattered. But underneath all that achievement, there was a gnawing emptiness, a sense that I was living someone else's life. The mask had become so convincing that I'd forgotten there was anyone underneath it. This is the great tragedy of human consciousness. We become so identified with our roles that we lose touch with our essence. We mistake the costume for the actor, the wave for the ocean. Every morning we wake up and put on we're a familiar identity like clothes, never questioning whether it truly fits who we are becoming. The paradox is that the more we perfect our masks, the more isolated we become. We're terrified someone might see through our performance, discover that we're not as together as we pretend to be, so we work harder to maintain the illusion, building walls around our hearts to protect the very thing that's suffocating us. But here's what I discovered in that hut in India. The mask isn't evil. It's not something to be violently torn away. It's simply another phenomenon arising in consciousness, another cloud passing through the sky of your being. The question isn't how to get rid of it, but how to stop identifying with it so completely. When you begin to see your personas as temporary costumes rather than permanent identities, something miraculous happens. You start to experience a sense of spaciousness, of freedom you never knew was possible. You realize that you are not your achievements, your failures, your past, or your future. You are the aware presence that observes all these things coming and going. This is where the real spiritual work begins, not in accumulating more experiences or knowledge, but in relaxing your grip on who you think you are. Even though you're already enlightened, the awakening deepens. Even though you're already love, the loving expands. The spiritual path is not about becoming someone else, but about remembering who you've always been while simultaneously becoming more of who you're meant to be. We help each other remember through every interaction, every relationship, every moment of connection. Sometimes we serve as mirrors, reflecting back each other's beauty. Sometimes we serve as teachers, showing each other what needs healing. Sometimes we serve as companions, simply walking alongside each other in the darkness until the dawn breaks. The love that walks us home is not personal love, though it includes that. It's not romantic love, though it encompasses that. It's the love that is the very fabric of existence, the force that holds the stars in their courses and the atoms in their dance. It's the love that brought you into being and the love that will receive you when this particular dance is complete. This love is unconditional, unlimited, and inexhaustible. It's not based on your performance, your achievements, your spiritual attainments, or your moral perfection. It's based on your being, your existence, your participation in the great mystery of life. You are loved not because of what you do, but because of what you are. a unique expression of the divine playing in the field of time and space. As I approach the end of my own journey in this form, I'm filled with gratitude for every step of the path, the struggles and the breakthroughs, the confusion and the clarity, the heartbreak and the healing. It's all been necessary, all been perfect, all been love appearing in countless disguises. Every person I've met, every lesson I've learned, every moment of joy and sorrow has been walking me home to this understanding. The invitation is always the same: to be present, to be loving, to be of service. To remember that beneath all the surface differences, we're all the same consciousness learning what it means to be human. To trust that every experience, pleasant or difficult, is perfectly designed for our awakening. To know that we're held in a love so vast and so intimate that we can never fall out of it. So as we continue walking each other home, let's remember to be gentle with ourselves and each other. Let's remember that we're all doing the best we can with the understanding we have. Let's remember that every moment is a fresh opportunity to choose love over fear, presence over distraction, service over selfishness. The journey home is not a solitary path, but a collective awakening. We're all in this together, helping each other remember what we've temporarily forgotten, supporting each other through the inevitable challenges of human existence, celebrating each other's moments of breakthrough and breakthrough. And in the end, we discover that there was never anywhere to go, nothing to achieve, no one to become. We were always home, always loved, always whole. The journey was just the process of remembering what we knew all along, that we are expressions of the infinite, temporarily dressed up as human beings, playing in the cosmic dance of existence. Be here now, love everyone, serve something greater than yourself. Remember that you are already what you seek. Trust the process, walk each other home. It's in this letting go that you discover who you really are, has been here all along, patiently waiting beneath all the masks. The greatest irony of my life is that I spent decades seeking something I already possessed. I traveled thousands of miles, ingested countless substances, read every spiritual text I could find, all in pursuit of an enlightenment that was never more than a breath away. I was like someone frantically searching for their glasses while wearing them. This seeking mind is so clever, so convincing. It tells us that peace is just around the corner, that one more retreat, one more teacher, one more breakthrough will finally deliver us to the promised land. And so we chase experience after experience, collecting spiritual concepts like trophies, building elaborate philosophies about the nature of reality. But the very act of seeking reinforces the illusion that something is missing. Every time we reach for the next spiritual high, we're unconsciously affirming that we're not complete as we are. We're saying that this moment, this ordinary, unremarkable present moment, isn't enough. I remember the day this dawned on me with devastating clarity. I was sitting in meditation, trying so hard to achieve some transcendent state, when suddenly I realized the absurdity of it all. Here I was, using my mind to try to get beyond my mind, using effort to achieve effortlessness, using time to reach timelessness. It was like trying to bite your own teeth. The seeking mind is always future-oriented. It lives in the realm of when and if only. When I get enlightened, then I'll be happy. If only I could have that experience again, then I'd be complete. But the present moment, this moment right now, is dismissed as somehow lacking, as merely a stepping stone to something better. What I began to understand is that the seeker and the sought are not separate entities. They're both movements within the same awareness, both clouds in the same sky. The one who seeks is already what he's seeking. The wave is already the ocean. The drop is already the divine. This doesn't mean we stop growing or learning. It means we stop approaching our spiritual life from a place of deficiency. Instead of seeking to become something we're not, we learn to recognize what we already are. Instead of trying to achieve enlightenment, we notice that consciousness itself is already enlightened. The shift is subtle but profound. We move from doing our spiritual practice to being our spiritual practice. We stop trying to get somewhere and start appreciating where we are. We realize that the path and the destination are the same thing, that the journey home is simultaneously the arriving. This is perhaps the most radical teaching of all. You are already what you seek. The peace you're looking for is the peace that's looking. The love you're searching for is the love that's searching. The awareness you're trying to achieve is the awareness that's trying. You are both the question and the answer, both the seeker and the sought. The mind, for all its brilliance, is like a sophisticated computer. It can analyze, categorize, and conceptualize, but it cannot love. Love operates on an entirely different frequency, one that transcends the realm of thought altogether. It's not something you can think your way into. It's something you can only surrender into. I spent years trying to understand love intellectually. I read every book, analyzed every relationship, dissected every feeling, but love kept slipping through my mental fingers like water. The more I tried to grasp it with my mind, the more elusive it became. It was like trying to catch moonlight in a jar. Then something shifted. Instead of trying to understand love, I began to let love understand me. Instead of approaching it as a problem to be solved, I started experiencing it as a mystery to be lived. Love, I discovered, is not something you have, it's something you are. It's not a feeling that comes and goes, it's the very fabric of existence itself. This love consciousness sees what the analytical mind cannot perceive. Where the mind sees separation, love sees connection. Where the mind sees problems, love sees opportunities for compassion. Where the mind sees enemies, love sees beings caught in their own suffering. It's as if love has X-ray vision, seeing through the surface drama to the divine essence within everyone. The intelligence of love is immediate and direct. It doesn't need to process information or weigh options. It simply knows. When you're operating from this heart space, you don't have to figure out what to do. The right action emerges spontaneously. You don't have to decide whether to forgive. Forgiveness happens naturally. You don't have to choose to be compassionate. Compassion becomes your natural response. This is why all the great spiritual traditions point toward love as the ultimate realization, not because it's a nice sentiment or a moral imperative, but because it's the most accurate perception of reality. Love sees things as they actually are. Beneath all the stories and projections and fears, it recognizes the fundamental unity that underlies apparent diversity. But here's the beautiful paradox. The more you try to manufacture love, the more it eludes you. Love can't be forced or fabricated. It can only be allowed. It's like trying to make a flower bloom by pulling on its petals. You'll destroy the very thing you're trying to create. Love emerges naturally when we stop defending against life, when we lower our guard and let existence touch us. It arises when we're willing to be vulnerable, to let our hearts break open again and again. It blooms in the soil of acceptance, in the willingness to meet whatever arises with presence rather than resistance. This love awareness transforms everything it touches. It doesn't just change how you feel about others, it changes how you see yourself. You begin to recognize that the same love that flows toward others is the love that you are. You realize that the compassion you feel for someone else's pain is actually your own true nature expressing itself. When you're grounded in this love consciousness, life becomes a completely different experience. Challenges still arise, but they're met with curiosity rather than resistance. Relationships become opportunities for deeper connection rather than negotiations for control. Even your so-called enemies become teachers, showing you where your love still needs to grow. The art of letting go is perhaps the most misunderstood practice in all of spirituality. We think it means becoming passive, giving up, or not caring. But true letting go is the most courageous act possible. It's the willingness to trust life completely, even when you can't see the outcome. I learned this lesson the hard way when I had my stroke in 1997. In an instant, everything I thought I could control was taken away. My body, my speech, my independence, all of it stripped away without warning. My first instinct was to fight, to resist, to somehow force my way back to who I used to be. But the harder I fought, the more I suffered. It took months of frustration and despair before I realized that the stroke wasn't my enemy, it was my teacher. It was showing me how much energy I'd been wasting trying to control things that were never mine to control in the first place. My health, my reputation, my future. I'd been holding on to these things like a drowning man clutches a life preserver, not realizing that the very act of grasping was pulling me under. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or become indifferent. It means you stop trying to micromanage the universe. You do what you can do with love and presence, and then you trust the larger intelligence of existence to handle the rest. It's like learning to float. The moment you stop thrashing and surrender to the water, it naturally supports you. The deepest suffering comes from our resistance to what is. We have this persistent fantasy that life should conform to our preferences, that reality should match our expectations. When it doesn't, and it rarely does, we create tremendous internal friction. We argue with reality, and reality always wins. But here's the miracle. When you truly let go, when you surrender completely to what is, you discover a peace that surpasses all understanding. You realize that you were never actually in control anyway, and that this lack of control is not a limitation, but a liberation. You're no longer carrying the impossible burden of being the director of the universe. Letting go is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice, a moment-by-moment choice to release your grip on how things should be. It's like learning to die while you're still alive, dying to your preferences, your expectations, your need to have life be anything other than what it is right now. In this release, you discover that what you were so afraid of losing was never really yours to begin with. And what you truly are, the aware presence that observes all the coming and going, can never be lost. You are not what you possess, but what possesses you. You are not what you control, but what remains when control is surrendered. There's a shadow side to human consciousness that we spend enormous energy trying to hide, suppress, or deny. These are the parts of ourselves we're ashamed of: our anger, our selfishness, our pettiness, our fears. We present a carefully curated version of ourselves to the world while secretly wrestling with these darker impulses in private. For years, I lived this double life. Publicly, I was the spiritual teacher, the enlightened guide who had transcended human limitations. Privately, I struggled with the same jealousy, anger, and fear as everyone else. I was terrified that if people saw my shadow, they would reject me, lose faith in my teachings, discover that I was just another flawed human being. The turning point came when I realized that my shadows weren't obstacles to my spiritual growth. They were the very material of that growth. Every difficult emotion, every character flaw, every moment of weakness was actually a doorway to deeper understanding. The parts of myself I was trying to hide were the very parts that needed the most love and attention. This is the great paradox of spiritual work. We don't grow by eliminating our shadows, but by embracing them. When we shine the light of awareness on our darkness, something magical happens. The shadows don't disappear, but they transform. Our anger becomes fierce compassion. Our selfishness becomes healthy self-care. Our fear becomes appropriate caution. The key is to meet these difficult aspects of ourselves with the same love and acceptance we would offer a frightened child. Instead of judging them or trying to fix them, we simply hold them with gentle awareness. We say to our anger, "I see you. I understand you're trying to protect me." We say to our fear, "Thank you for caring about my safety. I hear you." This doesn't mean we act out every impulse or justify harmful behavior. It means we stop fighting with ourselves and start having an honest, compassionate relationship with all aspects of our being. We recognize that our shadows often contain valuable information about our needs, our boundaries, our unhealed wounds. The most profound healing happens when we stop trying to be perfect and start being authentic. When we allow ourselves to be seen in our full humanity, light and shadow, beauty and brokenness, wisdom and confusion, we give others permission to do the same. Our vulnerability becomes a gift, our honesty a form of service. I've come to understand that our wounds are not random accidents, but sacred assignments. They're the curriculum designed specifically for our awakening. The very experiences that seem to break us are actually breaking us open, creating space for more love, more wisdom, more compassion. Pain becomes the compost from which our greatest growth emerges. One of the most persistent illusions of human consciousness is the belief that we are separate from one another. We see ourselves as isolated individuals, competing for resources, protecting our territory, defending our interests against others. This sense of separation is so fundamental to our experience that we rarely question it. But every now and then, there are moments when the veil lifts and we see through this illusion. Maybe it's holding a newborn baby, or witnessing someone's last breath, or simply looking into a stranger's eyes and recognizing yourself looking back. In these moments, the boundaries dissolve and we remember what we've always known but somehow forgotten. We are all one consciousness appearing as many. This recognition changes everything. When you truly understand that there is no other, that every being is another face of the same divine consciousness, compassion becomes automatic. You can't help but care for others because you realize they are literally extensions of yourself. Their pain is your pain, their joy is your joy, their liberation is your liberation. The ego mind works overtime to maintain the illusion of separation. It creates elaborate stories about us and them, about who belongs and who doesn't, about who deserves love and who doesn't. These stories seem so real, so convincing that we organize our entire lives around them. We build walls, create hierarchies, wage wars, all in service of maintaining boundaries that exist only in our minds. But consciousness itself knows no boundaries. Love recognizes no borders. The same awareness that looks out through your eyes is looking out through every other being's eyes. The same life force that animates your body is animating every form of life on this planet. We are like waves on the ocean, appearing separate on the surface but unified in our depths. This understanding doesn't eliminate the play of individuality. You still have your unique personality, your particular gifts, your specific role to play in the cosmic dance, but you no longer feel isolated or disconnected. You know yourself to be part of something infinitely larger, a thread in the great tapestry of existence. When this recognition deepens, service becomes as natural as breathing. You don't serve others because you should or because it's morally right. You serve because you recognize that there are no others, only the one appearing as many, only consciousness caring for itself in countless forms. The most direct path to spiritual awakening I've discovered is not through meditation or study or ritual, though these can be valuable tools. It's through service, through opening your heart to alleviate someone else's suffering. When you serve another being with no agenda other than love, you dissolve the barrier between self and other. You enter into the unity that you are. This understanding transformed my entire approach to spirituality. Instead of focusing solely on my own liberation, I began to see how my awakening was inextricably linked to the awakening of all beings. Every act of service became a practice. Every moment of compassion a form of meditation. The distinction between spiritual practice and daily life disappeared. Service, or seva as we called it in our tradition, is not about martyrdom or self-sacrifice. It's about recognition. When you truly see that the homeless person on the street is another face of the divine, caring for them becomes as natural as caring for your own child. When you understand that the earth is your extended body, protecting the environment becomes as instinctive as protecting your own health. The beautiful thing about service is that it heals the server as much as the served. Every time you reach out to help someone, you're reminded of your own capacity for love. Every act of kindness reconnects you to your true nature. You discover that giving and receiving are the same movement, that blessing others is a way of blessing yourself. This is why service is such a powerful spiritual practice. It takes you out of the self-centered orbit of your own concerns and connects you to something larger. It reminds you that you're part of an interconnected web of life, that your well-being is intimately connected to the well-being of others. It reveals that love is not just a feeling, but a force, not just an emotion, but an action. When service becomes a way of life, everything changes. You stop asking, "What can I get from this situation?" and start asking, "What can I give?" You stop seeing people as obstacles to your happiness and start seeing them as opportunities for love. You realize that the meaning of life is not found in accumulating experiences for yourself, but in contributing to the greater good. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or neglect your own needs. True service includes caring for yourself because you can't give what you don't have. It means maintaining your energy, your boundaries, your own spiritual practice so that you can serve from a place of fullness rather than depletion. It's like the instruction on an airplane. Put on your own oxygen mask first, then help others with theirs. There's no teacher quite like mortality. The moment you truly understand that this body, this mind, this personality is temporary, everything shifts into sharp focus. What seemed so important yesterday, the career accomplishments, the social status, the endless accumulation of things, suddenly reveals itself as elaborate theater. The real questions emerge. What have I loved? How have I served? What have I learned about being human? My stroke was perhaps it's the greatest spiritual teacher I ever encountered. More than any guru, more than any psychedelic experience, more than any sacred text, it taught me about the nature of impermanence. In one moment, I went from being a relatively healthy, articulate teacher to someone who could barely speak, who needed help with the most basic functions. Everything I thought defined me was stripped away without ceremony. The initial response was terror, rage, and overwhelming grief. I mourned the loss of my old self like attending my own funeral. But slowly, something unexpected emerged from this devastation. I began to discover aspects of myself that had been hidden beneath the layers of ability and independence. I found a tenderness I'd never known, a vulnerability that was actually a strength, a sweetness that could only emerge through surrender. Aging, illness, and death are not punishments or failures. They're the natural curriculum of incarnation. They're designed to teach us what we can't learn through comfort and success. They strip away our illusions about control, our fantasies about permanence, our attachment to being someone special. They humble us into recognizing our shared humanity. The fear of death is really the fear of not having lived authentically. It's the terror of reaching the end and realizing you spent your entire life trying to be someone else, meeting other people's expectations, playing roles that never quite fit. But when you start living from your true nature, when you align with love and presence and service, the fear of death transforms into curiosity about the next adventure. Death is not the opposite of life. It's the natural completion of the life cycle. It's like the moment when a wave returns to the ocean. The wave doesn't disappear. It simply returns to its source. The individual form dissolves back into the infinite consciousness from which it emerged. This isn't theory or philosophy. It's the direct experience of anyone who has learned to identify with awareness rather than with the temporary forms awareness takes. The practice of befriending mortality doesn't make you morbid or depressed. It makes you present. It makes you grateful. It makes you tender. When you truly understand that every moment is a gift, every breath a miracle, every encounter a sacred opportunity, you stop postponing your life. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions to be happy, to be loving, to be authentic. Living with this awareness of impermanence also transforms your relationships. You stop holding grudges over trivial matters. You forgive more quickly. You express your love more freely. You realize that every goodbye might be the last goodbye, and this awareness infuses each interaction with preciousness. The greatest gift of embracing mortality is that it liberates you from the prison of self-importance. When you know that this whole drama is temporary, you can play your role with both full engagement and ultimate detachment. You can care deeply while holding lightly. You can participate fully while remembering it's all a cosmic dance. The mind is a time machine, constantly shuttling between past and future, rarely settling in the present moment. We live in memories of what was or fantasies of what might be, missing the only time that actually exists right now. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat. This is where life is actually happening, but we're usually somewhere else entirely. I spent decades of my life anywhere but here. Either I was replaying past experiences, trying to extract more meaning from them, or I was planning future adventures, imagining how different life would be when I finally arrived at some imagined destination. The present moment was just a brief stopover between more interesting places. But here's what I discovered. The present moment is not a place you arrive at. It's what you are. You are not in the present moment. The present moment is in you. You are the eternal now, temporarily wearing the costume of time. Past and future are mental constructs, stories we tell ourselves, but they have no substance outside of thought. When you truly settle into the present moment, you discover that it's not ordinary at all. It's pregnant with infinite possibility. It's the space where miracles happen, where love is born, where peace reveals itself. The present moment is the portal through which the eternal enters time, the place where the divine touches the human. This doesn't mean you stop planning or learning from the past. It means you do these things from a place of presence rather than absence. You make future plans while remaining rooted in the now. You learn from past experiences without being trapped by them. You use time as a tool rather than being used by it. The practice of presence is deceptively simple. Just be here now. But simple doesn't mean easy. The mind has been trained for decades to be elsewhere, and it resists this radical simplicity. It wants to make presence into a project, a goal to achieve, a state to maintain. But presence is not something you do. It's something you are. Every spiritual practice is ultimately about returning to the present moment. Meditation teaches you to observe thoughts without being carried away by them. Prayer connects you to the sacred dimension of now. Service brings you into direct contact with life as it is. Study helps you understand the nature of presence. All paths lead to the same destination, here. The miracle of presence is that it transforms everything without changing anything. The same situation that seemed like a problem becomes workable. The same person who irritated you becomes interesting. The same life that felt ordinary reveals its extraordinary nature. Nothing changes except everything changes because you've changed the lens through which you're seeing. When presence becomes your natural state, you discover that you've been carrying around a secret treasure all along. You realize that what you were seeking in all those external experiences was always available in the simple act of being present. You find that the kingdom of heaven is not some distant realm, but the depth dimension of this moment, accessible to anyone willing to stop and notice. The most profound recognition of my entire journey is this. We are all walking each other home. Every person you meet is a fellow traveler on the path of awakening, each carrying their own unique blend of light and shadow, wisdom and confusion, love and fear. We're all learning the same essential lessons about what it means to be human, to love, to suffer, to grow, to eventually let go. This understanding changes how you see everyone you encounter. The difficult person becomes someone struggling with their own pain. The inspiring person becomes a mirror reflecting your own potential. The stranger becomes a family member you simply haven't recognized yet. We're all expressions of the same consciousness, all waves in the same ocean, all notes in the same cosmic symphony. The journey home is not about reaching some perfect state of enlightenment. It's about awakening to what has always been true, that you are already home, you always have been, and you always will be. Home is not a place, but a recognition, not a destination, but a realization. It's the understanding that you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through this particular form. But here's the beautiful paradox. Even though you're already home, the journey continues.